Mobile photography has improved a lot, but realistically we don't view them as competitors to your proper camera, and realistically, when you put them side by side, it's hard to argue otherwise, simply because what you get on a proper camera like a mirrorless camera, DSLR and so on is just far better. However, today's discussion isn't about that, it isn't about hardware, it isn't about the count of megapixels. It's about the philosophy of computational photography and how one brand truly stands out when it comes to understanding computational photography in a different way than you see a lot of other brands do. And yes, we are talking about Xiaomi, which holds true ever since the release of the Xiaomi 13 Pro, and especially also Xiaomi 14 Ultra. When we think of mobile photography, people often assume that it should be producing the near perfect image. We're talking about computational photography with flawless dynamic range, sharp details, minimal noise and almost no shadows or contrast. The problem with this approach though lies in the lack of character in the image. Sure, the picture might look technically perfect, but one can't help but feel lifelessness and uninspired by this kind of photography. And if you have been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm not chasing perfection when it comes to photography. What I care about is capturing the essence of the scene, the emotion, the atmosphere, the mood. Whether that's achieved through different modes, creative editing or applying filters, it's about conveying the feeling you wouldn't normally have in a purely perfect image. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra, in my opinion, does that in that regard. Yes, it still has some shortcomings and sometimes it even loses out to its predecessor, the Xiaomi 13 Pro, but we'll get to that later. Now, to really illustrate this, I want you to imagine a modern minimalistic building. Think of clean lines, white walls and of course some windows here and there. What does it stir up inside of you when you think about a building like that? Do you feel anything for the building itself, or do you see a lifeless but functional design? Now I want you to do the same thing again, but this time imagine an old building. Imagine a building that has all kinds of imperfections, has a lot of detail inside, has a lot of flaws in its design. What does it stir up to you? Does it stir inspiration? Does it stir you to take a picture of the building? Does it give you any sense of feeling where you're like, I need to take a picture of it? Because for me, that's what it does. And that is where, for instance, devices like the Xiaomi capture the essence of the scene itself. It captures the history, it captures what I really want to showcase when it comes to that kind of photography. And that is where Xiaomi excels at for me, especially holding true for the Xiaomi 13 Pro that till this day is one of those favorites when it comes to capturing that feeling of the scene itself. For me, devices like Pixel, Samsung and Apple don't resonate with me in the same way. It feels more like a tool than an experience, like something that I have to use rather than enjoying using it. And this especially counts true for something like Samsung and Apple. Xiaomi on the other hand feels more engaging, almost like it's trying to capture a moment or a feeling. That is where the Pixel series lies for me. It's more that minimalistic building that we made you imagine just a second ago. It's trying to be efficient, perfect. But that does come at a cost. And that cost is the soul of the image that I look for when it comes to my photography style. When you shoot with a Xiaomi phone, it feels like you're being inspired to capture something unique. Even if you don't consider yourself a photographer, the process still gives you an emotion and connects you to the scene in a way that a modern, perfect building simply wouldn't. Take something like the Central train station in Antwerp in Belgium. A stunning piece of architecture, people traveling all over the world, not just to catch the train, but also to photograph the magnificent landmark. That's the feeling that Xiaomi invokes in its photography. It's about capturing the sense and the essence of the place itself. Of course, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra isn't without its flaws. Its biggest issue in my experience has been its consistency, but even with that, I find myself willing to take another shot, because when it does nail that shot, it transports me back to the moment when I was taking that shot. The image just isn't a picture, it's a memory and a feeling for me, And that is what matters most when it comes to my style of photography. Now there are moments, like I stated, where the Xiaomi 14 Ultra loses out to the Xiaomi 13 Pro. It's often flower related shots using the telephoto floating lens. It's a tad too sharp for me when it comes to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra compared to the Xiaomi 13 Pro, and also that slight color difference does help out the shots as well. And in some cases it simply has more style to it. But at the end, Xiaomi seems to understand that photography isn't just about achieving the most accurate or technically perfect shot. It's about capturing that feeling and mood that I've talked about a lot. That's why I say devices like Vivo feel like they're capturing summer, a bright and vibrant shot. But Xiaomi has a way of channeling the warmth and the subtlety of autumn, even in colder seasons. The photos feel warmer, more inviting and more nostalgic in a sense. I won't pretend that Xiaomi is perfect by any means. It has its flaws. Portrait photography could definitely use some work, especially when it comes to skin tones, which can sometimes look a bit lifeless, especially for lighter skin tones. And yes, battery life could definitely be better as well, especially if you are taking a lot of photos. But for me, those little drawbacks don't outweigh the overall experience. The way that Xiaomi approaches photography, the warmth and the emotion it captures is something that feels rare today when it comes to smartphone photography. And yes, Vivo does have its moment where it gets really close, but it's still a bit different. At the end, I generally feel a connection to the pictures that I've taken when it comes to the Xiaomi. It may not be perfect, but when I look at the pictures, it draws me back to the moment that I've taken the shots. So, what did you think about this different kind of video? I really wanted to talk about the philosophy of the photography on Xiaomi devices, and especially that holds true ever since the Xiaomi 13 Pro in the way that they approach the photography of it. I think the Leica collaboration between Xiaomi and Leica itself is really one of those things that excelled the experience of photography on the Xiaomi series, especially ever since the Xiaomi 13 Pro, because of course I haven't tested the Xiaomi 12S that had the first collaboration with of course Leica. But when it comes to their photography, I think they have an excellent view on how photos should be in my preference. And I think that is really a big part that we also have to take away from this video. I'm talking here about my preferences as well. What I like when it comes to the shots itself. I know that there are people out there that like that brighter shot, that like that bit more saturated shot, that like that bit more summer vibe. And that's where I said, for instance, the Vivo excels. It excels at that kind of photography, where Xiaomi lacks then in comparison if you want that kind of photography. But if you want the photography where you get that feeling of Christmas, of autumn and so on, I think there Xiaomi is clearly unbeaten. Though I still think that it needs some work, especially when it comes to the camera hardware, and just work on getting some good upgrades for the next Ultra. Either way, let me know what you think about this video. And of course, if you were wondering, yes, recording outside is petrifying. I don't like it, because people pay attention to you and I don't like that. Either way, I also really want to thank my members. Thank you so much for the support itself. It really does mean a lot for a channel size like mine. But of course, if you do want to become a member, you can by clicking join below. But don't feel like you should or must do that. You can also buy some shots that I've made on conceptcreator.com. There's a shop link and then you can buy some, link in the description. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this different kind of video. And of course, let me know in the comments below what you think about it. And of course, which kind of phone has your preference when it comes to photography. Either way, have a good one and talk to you guys in the next.